Hello, welcome back to the channel. We are here with the full breakdown of the footage we got from last night's Gamescom opening night from Hogwarts Legacy. This was a really interesting trailer. It showed a lot of dark imagery and it was a bit different to anything we've seen so far. It was a bit short, unfortunately, but I'm hoping they're going to drip feed us more and more as the game release gets closer. I did a reaction video yesterday. If you haven't watched it, I will leave the link up in the cards or down in the description below, but go check that out because it gives you my initial thoughts on the trailer and the initial things that I found out. But if you're looking for the deep dive, then you're in the right place because we are going to get right into the frame by frame breakdown of this video. So let's not delay any further and get straight into it. So the trailer opens with a scene in the dark forest. I'm not entirely sure where this is going to be, but the tree is very prominent in the foreground, which has a lot of skull imagery on it. It almost looks as though there is a skull with crossed wands underneath it, very similar to what you see with the Jolly Roger in Pirates. However, this looks like it is going to be slightly different and possibly the symbol of the dark wizards and witches that we see throughout the game, or possibly the symbol of the poachers that we know we get in this game. Zooming in on some of these posters, I've tried to see as much detail as I can. At the top of some of these white posters, it looks like there is letters which possibly spell out W-Y-C-H, which is obviously a different spelling of witch, but it's also a form of tree in the UK. So potentially has something to do with these trees. Maybe their wands are made out of these trees, or there's something to do with witch trees, or it could just be a different spelling of the word witch, or it could be an acronym to be something in relation to what they are standing for or what they are trying to do. There is a signpost with an arrow pointing off in the left direction in the middle of this tree, leading you somewhere. Unfortunately, I can't make out exactly what these words say. In the foreground, there also appears to be something staked into the ground. It looks like a shape of a bird. It could possibly be a helmet with some sort of decorations on it, but there is definitely something stuck in the ground to the foreground of this image. The scene cuts to see our new version of our avatar, the female version, heading into a dark cave. The area is lit with the Lumos spell, and actually you can see the wand effect as the spell is cast. There is an explosion of light that leaves the wand, and then the area is illuminated. Again, zooming in on this scene, you can see there is actually the skeleton of a human on the floor next to our character just outside this cave. I believe this cave must be somewhere quite secluded if a skeleton or a body has been able to be there for long enough to turn into a skeleton on the outside in view of anybody who wants to walk past. So we are likely going to be in quite a secluded or potentially dangerous area. We do see lots of spiders in this, so maybe we'll have to fight through the spiders to get there, which is why nobody has found this poor person. There is a stone to the right hand side of the entrance. It looks like it has some sort of carving or rune on the front of it. Cannot make it out from this trailer, but it looks like potentially this could be a point of interest that you are looking for. Maybe these runes on the outside tell us what the cave is going to be like on the inside. The next shot shows an open chamber. It looks very similar to the chamber that we got the villain reveal in the first ever Hogwarts Legacy trailer. I'm wondering if this is going to be the same location. We cannot see the sacrifice table from our location, but it does look very similar. Our character is walking along this balcony area with Sebastian and Sallow. You can see them in the middle of these two columns here. Along the columns there is these etched symbols. I've been looking out for them throughout the rest of the trailer. They do appear in most of the cave scenes. However, I cannot see any inclination as to what the symbols are going to mean. If you look to the rear of this image, there is several open caskets. I believe this is going to be where the Inferii are coming from. If you look at most of the scenes throughout this trailer within this cave system, everywhere there seems to be open caskets. Now I'm wondering what these bodies were initially. Maybe this was some sort of ancient burial ground for wizards from Hogsmeade, because we do know that Hogsmeade is one of the only fully wizard establishments in the whole of the UK. So perhaps this was a tomb for very old previous wizards that have attended Hogwarts or lived in the surrounding areas. It would then appear that these dark wizards have come to this location, taken advantage of the amount of bodies here, and have turned them all into Inferii. The other alternative could be that this is actually just their hideout and they have been bringing these caskets of bodies to this location to create the Inferii. We then get another shot of this character. He seems to be very much linked to Sebastian. I don't know if he is like the father figure of Sebastian or if he is actually part of the school. He does mention that he will go straight to the headmaster, so it's a potential that he does work at the school. Looking at the building behind him, it does remind me of Hagrid's cabin, so potentially he is the gamekeeper when we are at the school, and you do have a relationship similar to that of Harry and Hagrid. It could also be both of these things mixed together. He could potentially be the father of Sebastian. However, he could be working within the school and working as the gamekeeper, and it just means that the first natural form of punishment that he thought for Sebastian would be to go to the headmaster, who's probably got more power than him in this situation. Our avatar and Sebastian can then be seen going deeper into this tomb system. The next shot we get is of a statue of a wizard. I believe this is going to be Slytherin. If you look around him, you can see that actually parts of the things that make up his hair are moving, and there is also a snake head to the left-hand side of the screen here. This does give me a very Chamber of Secrets vibes. Obviously the statue in the Chamber of Secrets was a lot bigger than this one, but the fact that it is a very similar portrayal to what we have seen written in the books and in the films, I suggest this is probably going to be Slytherin himself. Potentially this could even be his final resting place. We then get a shot of this book, which is really intriguing. There is a skull in its middle. There is also this 8-pronged symbol beneath it, and there is 4 runes what appear to be around each corner of the book. However, due to the focus of the camera, we can only make out 2 of them. There's also what looks to be something very similar to the Deathly Hallows carved into the head of the skull. So there are 3 symbols on this book that I'd like to discuss. We'll start with the one that I know least about, and that is this half-star symbol in the bottom left-hand corner. It looks to be a 5-pointed star with one of the points removed. Now, 5-pointed star is obviously most commonly linked to the pentagram symbolism. However, the dark side of the pentagram symbolism is when the star is upside down. This one looks to be up the right way. I've looked as much as I can to see any symbols about a broken pentagram, but I cannot find it anywhere. The one interesting thing I did find about the pentagram is sometimes it's called the Goblin Star, which could be linked to the goblins within this storyline. However, they are not really seen within this trailer or anywhere in this area. The second symbol we will talk about is the one in the top right hand side of the screen. This symbol here looks to be a mixture of a couple of runes, and I have done my best to try to decipher them, but I cannot find anything that matches perfectly. However, what I have found is very interesting. The symbol that it closely resembled is Ihwaz, and that is a symbol of the yew tree, and it also symbolizes life and death. Now, we know yew trees from the Harry Potter series as a wand wood. Ollivander uses it, and it makes rarer kinds of wands. Yew wands were particularly known for their dark and fearsome reputation, and were also very good in dueling and all curses. One obvious known user of a yew wand was Tom Riddle. However, Ginny did use the one as well. On the original Pottermore website, talking about yew trees, that said there are British yew trees over 2,000 years old, can symbolise both death and resurrection. The sap of the yew tree is also poisonous. We see them a couple of times in the Harry Potter series. In the graveyard in Little Hangington, there is a yew tree when Voldemort is resurrected. And also the first time we are introduced to Thestrals is when there are 2 yew trees beside them. Yew trees seem to be symbolised with dark magic and also resurrection, which is very interesting. The middle section of this symbol also looks like another rune, and that is Furazaz, and this is literally the symbol for chaos. Now, I think that this symbol itself potentially could link to the symbol that we see directly in the middle of the book, and it looks very similar to the Vigricia symbol, which is the Pathfinder symbol in Viking culture. It is very similar to the points of the compass that we get today. It is an 8-pronged star. However, on the original symbol, there is obviously lots and lots of different altercations around the edges. This one just has 2 prongs at either edge. So if we look at these 2 symbols together, the Pathfinder symbol and the symbol for life and death, this potentially means that this book is a pathway between life and death, and could be the book that the Dark Wizards are using to create the Inferii, which themselves are the pathway between life and death. In the next scene, we have the skeleton of a gigantic dragon. We saw some of these in the State of Play trailer dotted around the map, so maybe they are regular points of interest that we have to go to. Around this one, there are 2 Festrals walking on the floor, and to the top left of the screen, there is a Festral flying through the sky. This area itself looks absolutely gorgeous and terrifying, and I cannot wait to explore the darker side of this game, now that we're seeing a lot more of it in this preview. Continuing with this dark scene, we see our character walking up to this cliff in the background, and there are several warnings to beware of these spiders. The one to the right even says extreme danger. I'm guessing that some of these locations are going to be locations that we won't be able to go to until we're leveled up, and there will be signs like this to deter us from going to them. I like this feature. There is a visual representation to show us that actually we are probably not strong enough to go to these locations until possibly later on in the game. As our character walks away, in the foreground, the figure of a spider can be seen following them. We then get probably the most terrifying scene that we have got in any trailer so far, and that is several of these giant spiders moving away from the body of a witch or wizard that has been wrapped up in webs on the floor. We then get a top-down view of this character wrapped up. I cannot distinguish who this character is. There is nothing obvious to suggest any character that we know so far. I've looked as deep dive as I can on the floor to see if they've dropped anything, but there appears to be nothing there for me to find. This is just a terrifying situation to be in. Their face is fully covered. There's no way they are breathing well in that. It is very claustrophobic, and just the thought of the spiders and even walking into a cobweb for me is a horrible sensation. So being fully immersed in one is just absolutely disgusting, and these levels and these sections of the game are going to absolutely terrify me as we have to progress through them. And the next shot shows our female avatar walking down a narrow corridor, what looks to be inside a cave if you look at the ceiling. However, down the right hand side, there are several pillars with torches in between them, and the pillars are curling round, very much serpentine, and on the top of them, there are snake heads sticking out of the wall. This just absolutely symbolises Salazar Slytherin to me. Obviously, the whole trailer was based around the name Salazar Slytherin, but this could potentially be his final resting place. I do not believe this is going to be the Chamber of Secrets. We know that that is a hidden location and not many people have been there before. Also, you need to be able to speak Parcel Tongue to be able to get in there. So I think this is actually going to be Salazar Slytherin's tomb that our characters are going to be exploring. Now, on the floor glowing is the word Crucio, and I believe that our character is seeing this because our character has this unknown power, and it can tell our character how to get through magical traps and potentially magical obstructions such as this door. So this door is very similar to what we see in the books, where Harry and Dumbledore go to find the Locket Horcrux in the cave by the sea. I believe this door is some sort of a challenge and some sort of test for anybody who's trying to gain access to the room behind. In the Deathly Hallows book, Dumbledore had to weaken himself, even though it was very slightly, by cutting his hand and giving a blood sacrifice to the door. I think this one has to prove your dark intent, or the intent of your character to be using curses and dark magic itself, and want you to perform the Crucio curse to be able to get through the door. Now, initially, I thought that they were just going to be casting the Crucio curse at the door, but I believe you have to make a choice now as to whether you are going to be the caster of the curse or whether you are going to have the curse cast on you. That would be a very interesting take. I'm presuming that if you are going to be the caster of the curse, that would go towards the dark side of events, and if you're going to have it on you, that would go towards the light side of events. But I'm sure there's going to be a wider and more unseen reaction from both your character and Sebastian's character, depending on what you choose. If you do the curse well, Sebastian will probably think of you in a different way, potentially less likely to like you, think that you are potentially a dark witch or dark wizard. And if you have the cursed cast on you, you are probably weaker and less powerful for the next scene that you are going to have to do. I would imagine if you're going into some sort of tune for Salazar Slytherin, there is going to be lots of dark creatures in there, possibly even a basilisk that you're going to have to face and actually have to fight. So having the curse cast on you will put you in a worse case for that upcoming fight. This is obviously just speculation, but from playing lots of games, I would imagine that would be something similar to what the storyline is going to play out like. Now, it wasn't until I went through frame by frame that I actually noticed there are 3 characters in this scene. We have what I believe to be our avatar in the middle of the screen. If you look to the bottom left, that actually looks to be Sebastian Sallow's character. But then up front, by the word Crucio, there's actually another character in a dark road who seems to be holding something up in front of them. You can see them moving as this scene goes forward, so it is not a statue. I'm very intrigued to see who this person actually turns out to be, because throughout the rest of the trailer we just seem to be there on our own, and it doesn't seem to be this gamekeeper character either. So our character then has a discussion with Sebastian, and they decide who is going to be doing the curse on the other person. This is a very nice way to show off the morality scale in this game, and just a different version of it and a potential choice that we will have to have a look at. Also, when this happens, you get a nice look at some of the clothing options for these characters. You can see there is a nice checked design on the inside of the Hufflepuff character's robes, and very similar to that in the Slytherin robes. His trousers are also checkered as well when we see the camera zoom away from them. If you look at the face of our avatar, you can see the intent in her face, and I believe this is going to be the darker side of the storyline, because in this one she looks very much more interested in doing the dark spell than Sebastian does. Sebastian almost looks apprehensive to cast the spell, as you would expect him to. We then see the magic lighting up this doorway. There seems to be some sort of red and black goo type substance that is moving around the door that seems to move away as our spells hit it. We then see Sebastian unarmed in this scene here. There is a book behind him. Potentially it is the book that we saw earlier on in the trailer. It is the one they are using to create the Inferii. On the walls behind him again there are several open caskets. We then get a good look at the Inferii in the next 2 scenes. We pan across them here and the effects do look really nice on their bodies. They are absolutely terrifying and will guarantee to be a jump scare within the game at some point. We then see our character fighting off a group of Inferii using the Incendio Charm. We get a very nice look into the full detail of this charm. As the character brings her arm back, there is a red glow with sparks in it, and as they push forward, flames appear directly at the target. They also then appear to spread to multiple targets, as you can see here by this Inferii on the left being hit slightly later than the other Inferii. We then get a look at this character here, who I'm not entirely sure who they are. There is a 1 frame moment where the character is brought into full view, and you can see that he is wearing some sort of skull-like mask and a red top hat. He's also wearing a long red coat. And now the top hat does look very similar to the character of Rosier, however the colour scheme is completely different, so we are yet to know whether this is the same character at a different time or if it is actually a completely different character. We then see a nice shot of the shield charm in use and a counter-attack in motion. The charm raises from our feet, and then as the spell hits, it ripples around our character and deflects the flames away. Our character then instantly uses a parry charm and hits back at this character in red. It looks like the spell connects, however the scene cuts away too quickly. There appears to be a wall to the right hand side, and obviously there is a lantern here as well, so I think this is a different location to what we have seen so far in the trailer, but being able to pinpoint it is unfortunately very difficult. Back to the scene with the book and Sebastian, and he now has his wand out and is preparing to attack. I think potentially the Inferii have snuck up on him and he is ready to fight his way out of this location. He sends off a stunning charm. You can tell by the lighting effects of the circle bursting out of the wand and then the straight line red beam. We then see the inferior eye struggling away and burning into pieces. I think potentially this is where the character that is potentially the Hagrid replacement comes into play and comes to help our characters out when they get overwhelmed, and he seems to be very powerful and can knock away several inferior at once. This looks different to the actual fight scenes that we've seen and looks to be more like some sort of cinematic sequence, so I would suggest that potentially this is when he would appear here. We now get another look at the entrance to Salazar Slytherin's resting place, and this time the magic that is protecting the doorway seems to have gone. So you have either cast the Crucio curse or it has been cast on you at this point, and you're now able to enter the tomb beyond. You can tell this is the same door by the detailing around the top and also these pillars to either side of the door. The opening to this has something very similar to what is described as the Chamber of Secrets opening, with the two snakes moving around this circular area in the top of the door before it is allowed to open. It'd be interesting to see if we have to use a Parseltongue to gain entrance. Maybe our character can speak to Parseltongue, or perhaps a character of Sebastian Sallow is actually a descendant of Slytherin himself and is one of those people who can speak Parseltongue. If you look at the two symbols in the middle of the actual door itself, they both appear to be two S's, one facing forwards, one facing backwards, which again, to me, links this to Salazar Slytherin's resting place. The next sequence has the camera moving up a bone staircase. All the bones are made from human bones and they lead up to the entrance to another chamber, and you can see our character walking through it. I believe this is actually the chamber that we see next in the trailer. If you look around the walls, there is these slots for the caskets, and there is also bodies which appear to be hanging from the ceiling, draped in cobwebs. This is very similar to what we see in this scene here. We get another look at the effect of the Lumos charm with the burst of light coming from it before illuminating the room. Our character then heads towards this door up in front. We then get a look at a troll fighting some inferior. In this shot, I do believe we get an animation effect for an attack of the troll. If you look from the top of the swing, there is a flash of light which indicates us to duck or dodge at this time. You then see as the troll brings its club down, the same flash of light that comes down into the ground before stones rise up around this inferior figure. It would look like this is going to be some sort of attack that we are going to have to dodge as the troll fights us. At this moment, this troll is illuminated and it looks to be covered in forest. You can see there is a moss all over its back, and there is also mushrooms growing from this moss. Now, it'll be interesting to know if this is because this is where the troll is and sleeps and it's just taking over its body, or if this is some sort of troll clothing that the troll is wearing. We now then see the character that is possibly the gamekeeper or Sebastian Sallow's father. We are yet to know for certain. However, in this scene, so I would suggest at this moment, as you can see behind him, he is definitely within this tomb location. I personally believe this is after he has saved us from the swarm of Inferii. We know that Inferii are scary to most wizards and potentially they are not able to be defeated very easily. We do see Dumbledore using a massive fire charm to withstand hundreds of Inferii when him and Harry go to the lake in the cave. However, we know that Dumbledore was not only one of the most powerful wizards at the time, but he was also in possession of the Elder Wand. So he is able to use that powerful wand to then able to defeat all of those Inferii. Now, if this character has come in and protected us from a swarm of Inferii that we see in this trailer, then it either suggests that he's a very powerful wizard, or he potentially is in possession of a very powerful wand. Now, although this wand is not very clear, and I have had to zoom in quite far, if you look at the shape of this wand, it looks very similar to the shape of the Elder Wand. There is a little bump right at the beginning, a bigger bump further back, and then one just before his thumb. You then cannot see the rest of the wand as it disappears into his hand. But this wand could potentially be the Elder Wand and could potentially be the biggest reveal in this trailer. Now, we know that we get mention of the Deathly Hallows robes within this, but it'd be really interesting to see a couple of them or all of them appear throughout this game just to see where they are at certain points in history. Now, if this character is as powerful as he seems, then I think he is going to be using the Elder Wand here. He shouts at our characters, asking them what they have done. Now, I don't know whether this is to do with the Inferii, whether they've woken the Inferii, or they've released some sort of curse by going into Slytherin's area, but we will find out as we play the game. But he is very angry, and our characters look very scared. So whatever we have done is definitely not a good thing. We then see the new title logo, and it is now draped in green, which is just the known colour of darkness within the Wizarding world. We get the shot of the confirmed release date, again February 10th. I am so looking forward to this. And then finally, we get a nice new angle of Hogwarts that we have not seen. It would appear that the greenhouses are to the right and the entrance hall is to the left. And we see a Thestral flying down towards us. We then get a confirmation of the Digital Deluxe Edition pre-order and the things you get with it. As part of that, you get the Dark Arts pack, which is a Thestral mount, the Dark Arts costume set, and the Dark Arts Battle Arena. So there is some form of Battle Arena within this game. You can see the costume set on the character to the right, and if you look, there is some skulls in place, and the smoke seems to move over the costume as our character stands there, so it is some sort of moving effect on the clothing, which is brilliant. You also get the Onyx Hippogriff mount, the Dark Arts Garrison hat, and also 72 hours early access, which is worth buying this set alone just to get this game so much earlier. Also just leaked is the collector's edition of the game. This comes with the same Dark Arts pack that we get in the deluxe edition, but it also comes with a steel case and the full game. It comes with a floating wand set, which looks amazing. There's a book on the base and the wand floats above it, and it all comes in a collector's edition box. Also in game, the additional thing that you get appears to be a Kelpie rope. Interesting to see what that will be used for when we are in the game. We've also just had a post on the Wizarding World website, and it is talking about Back to Hogwarts Day 2022, which is obviously the 1st of September. Now, on the website, there is a line that says, look out for news on the upcoming RPG console game, Hogwarts Legacy. So that confirms that we'll be getting more news very soon on the 1st of September. They've also teased that we will get a first look at a new magical product. So that's just interesting Wizarding World news as a whole. So there you have it. That was my full breakdown of this trailer. There are so many hidden details there. I hope I'm right about some of them, especially the book and also the potential sighting of the Outer Wand. So what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. I do reply to everyone, so make sure you get involved, and also don't forget to leave this video a like. It really does help the channel out. I appreciate you all so much. I appreciate the support that you all give me on the channel, in the comments section, and also in the Discord. If you feel like joining the Discord, we are very short on members, so come on over, get involved in the conversation, and I will be regularly active in there as well. So if you want to ask me to do any videos or ask me any questions about my thoughts around the Wizarding World, then come over to the Discord. The link will be down below. But that is it for this video. I really do hope you enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. But until then, mischief managed.